Alright, thank you guys for being here. My name is Maggie Ballard, City Council. If everybody wants to go around and introduce yourself and maybe what neighborhood you're from, then we'll get started.
Hi, Scott Lucas, I'm with Richmond Hills Pleasantville. I'm Bill Washburn, I'm sure with Glenn. Jim Gonzalez, Sunflower.
Zach Gingrich, Gaylord, Riverside.
Mark Baker from Lake Ridge.
Tom James, North Riverside.
Right? We're going to call the meeting to order. Somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes from or approve the agenda, I'm sorry.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
All in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Give an update from the fire department.
This is the staff report.
Yeah.
And up here, that mic is not necessarily a mic, it just picks up the sound in the room.
Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're okay with the County Wichita Fire Department. I looked up some incident that occurred in the month of February in District 6 area, and I've had a report of 4 working house fires in this area here. One of them had to do with the chimney that was accidental, unintentional, so it had to do just with the structure. We did have a vacant structure fire here. In this district, again, throughout the city itself, there are a lot of issues with vacant properties that are not secured, and there are squatters, homeless individuals getting access inside of them. This one was determined to be the possibility of a warming fire. We were able to be dispatched in an early time that the fire wasn't heavily involved with the structure. So, and then we also had another fire that was due to a number of extension cords. Piggybacking daisy chaining one extension cord to another, but also being aware of space heaters. During the time of February, we did have some cold spells. We want to make sure that, those space heaters continue to be plugged directly into outlets because of the electricity that they're requiring to be able to operate correctly. And then the other house fire was determined to be, it's still undetermined, still under investigation. So, with daylight saving times, we gained an hour of daylight outside, but we just want to remind everybody it's still not too late to make sure that you do have working smoke alarms in your house. And if you're in the need of smoke alarms, please contact the Wichita Fire Department. And we have a smoke alarm, free smoke alarm blitz that we continue to support and be able to install smoke alarms in your residence for the safety of all of our citizens throughout the city. Any other questions?
Anybody have any questions? Anybody from the public have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to the Wichita Police Department update. Who wants to go first? Oh.
Hello again, Officer Casey Widener, I'm Community Policing Officer to 49B, which is the area you were on, and no one here. Again, I don't have a lot for you. I will say that me and my team have been working. We had a serial burglar going around. He was in business windows and stealing their cash registers. That was his big MO. And it seemed to be like the mom and pop Mexican restaurant, alteration places, things like that. We did 2 nights of overnight watching him. We're able to get him into custody after he committed burglary. Unfortunately got out that following Monday. But he is back in. So we've been working hard on getting him put back into jail, and that is where he is. So that's what we've been working on. Everything else seems to be going all right. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions?
Would that mean he escaped or he was released?
No, he was released.
Okay.
Before detectives could get him charged with more cases, he was let out. So there was another pickup for him, and officers were able to get him Tuesday.
No, it was Saturday.
Oh, so
He was arrested Saturday.
okay. Good on both.
I had a question for Patrol West people. You're not out of Patrol West, are you?
I am not.
You're not, okay, well.
I am, go ahead, asking.
I wanted to know what you're gonna do, what you're doing about red dot storage. It seems, are you familiar with red dot storage
I'm not.
at 8th and Zoo Boulevard? It's a chronic crime scene. Anybody that puts their stuff in there gets robbed. Almost everybody that's had put anything in there gets robbed. Vehicles are vandalized, chains are cut, chain link fences are cut. The lockers are used for residential purposes by some of these homeless people. Drug trafficking out of there. It's not safe to go there after.
I'll make note of it and I'll ask the community police officer what they want about, okay?
Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Next.
Good evening, I'm Oscar John, I'm Patrol West, 13B Community Policing Officer. We take turn going to go DAB meetings and DAB meeting, DAB 6 for me. So if you need concern for any of your area in the West, let me know and then I'll get to the right community policing officer on. For out west, last Saturday, we had the St. Patrick Parade. You guys go out there, with go out there. Also, Second Chance Thursday, you guys know about Second Chance Thursday? Well, we had one in February, and we're gonna have one again in June. June first Thursday of the month. So, you know, I don't know what we're gonna have there. We'll let you guys know what that's gonna be. Anybody with warrant, the city warrant, for example, is have to go to this issue for days. That's what normally the Second Chance Thursday. So that is what I have.
Anybody have questions? Okay, thank you.
And we have one more officer. He is joining us via Zoom. Officer Stahl, go ahead and provide your staff report. Officer Stahl, we can't hear you.
This is his friend, not in the chat. In the chat.
And we can go ahead and move on to the next one while we fix the
Okay.
audio.
Right, we'll go on to the library report. My name is Ann Ethan, and I'm the branch manager here at the Evergreen Branch Library. I also manage the Maya Angelou branch. So I am almost always at the District 1 DAB meetings, which until recently were at the exact same time and the same day. So this is the first chance I've had to be at District 6. There's a lot of things happening, but I don't want to take up too much time. Starting March 1st, we started accepting passport applications here at the Evergreen branch. So if you need to get a passport, call us, schedule an appointment. The Alpha branch down south also accepts passport applications. We have been very busy. That's all I did today was passport applications. Call us if you have questions about what you need to get a passport. And we'll be happy to help. I believe Anna is going to be working with some of our technology trainers starting Friday. The next 3 Fridays, the library will be hosting an event here to sign people up for the Affordable Connectivity Program, which subsidizes your home internet service. There's some income qualifications. And Anna probably already knows more about it than I do, so. And I'll just mention one more thing. Last fall, we had Music Theater Wichita out here to conduct a series of classes for elementary school kids. It was singing the songs of Encanto. And over 4 sessions, they learned how to do some little dances, did some acting, did some singing. It was a blast. They're coming back in April. This time it's gonna be Saturday mornings, 4 Saturdays in April. 10:30 in the morning. We're skipping Easter weekend, but it's all the other Saturdays. This time it's going to be singing the songs from Moana. So if you got any kids in the K-5 age range, no experience is required. Anybody can come and participate, and the kids had a great time last time.
Does anybody have any questions?
I didn't catch the dates like that. I don't know what to call it, what to call it, the internet subsidy.
Friday, March 17, 24, and 31. Afternoons, 1:30 to 5:30 on those days. It will be in the next one of our other meetings.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks.
We move on to the public agenda. Looks like we have one scheduled item. Annexation of the area north of 21st and east of Amadon to the Little Arkansas River into Benjamin Hills Pleasant Valley Neighborhood Association. We heard to speak on that. Wait. You have 3 minutes.
Well, our neighborhood association,
State your name, please.
pardon me,
That's all right.
Lee McLeod, I'm the president of the neighborhood association, Benjamin Hills Pleasant Valley.
Thank you.
We discovered that there was a section of our neighborhood that wasn't being covered by any other neighborhood association. It's a small sliver that is bordered by the Little Arkansas on the east and Amadon on the west, north of 29th Street to the Big Ditch. And so last summer, we sent out a postcard to all those people. There were about 270 or 280 addresses, I think. And asked them if they would like to join us. They didn't have to respond. We asked if they had any objections to let us know. We have an email address that we asked them to respond to. And we got several positive responses to be glad that they could be in it. And so we assumed that since there were no negative and a few positive, we went ahead and in September, our board voted to quote unquote annex them or bring them in and so they could join our neighborhood. By that time, we were having our neighborhood cleanup in June. And so they were included in that. And I think they were all very happy about that. Anyway, I don't know what makes it more official. We will ask the city to change the maps that indicate neighborhood association boundaries, because that area is just sort of in limbo right now still. And that's all I would need to say, I think. So it makes our neighborhood be up to about 1,900 residences. And that's one of the larger neighborhood associations we're finding, and which will be giving us a few challenges to have to change our cleanup. That's scheduled for April 8th this year. Thank you for your help and your help, Anna. Here's you got this. The minutes that.
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ballard, I think we have officers holding out joining us with his cell phone with his. Sorry, one more time.
Okay, can you guys hear me now? Can anyone hear me now?
That was the timer.
Okay, so I am the community policing officer for Patrol South, the downtown area. I recently took over 22 beat, which covers a section of Staff 6 here, and I am making this my first meeting with you guys. I just wanted to kind of reach out so that people would have my contact info, which I will send to Ms. Lopez. As far as what we have downtown, right now we've seen kind of a spike during the last couple months.
Are you there?
Yeah, can I not be heard?
Okay, we'll just move on, it's okay. Okay. We are going to move on to the off agenda item. Does anyone here speak on an off agenda item? No? Okay, we're gonna move on to new business, proposed changes to the City of Wichita firework ordinance.
Good evening, everyone again. Jose Ortega, Battalion Chief, Wichita Fire Department. I'm here to present our proposed fireworks ordinance and give you a review of the 2022 season of our enforcement control results. Next slide, please. So in 2022, the 4th of July, usually our 4th of July weekend begins, or week begins June 27th through July 5th. And those dates are specifically from the state statute of Kansas. During that time period, the Wichita Fire Department responded to a total of 71 firework incidents. 6 structural fires during those 71 calls were a result of actual working fires. 17 injuries were reported to all the medical facilities here in the city of Wichita, along with our partners at 911 Communication. They had a total of 1,224 firework complaints that were utilized during the non-emergent line itself. As you can see in the slide up on the screen itself, you can see our statistics from since 2018, how they basically been in about the same average of 5 per year, just adding the last 5 years of fireworks incidents. One thing that we did have an increase of this year was, as you can see, the grass, trees, compost, and trash of 36 calls related to that specific type of fire. And I think we are relating that to the way the temperature was and the dry season that we had. So I think one of those, being able to, we can't control the weather, but that's why we expect an increase of the number of calls in that type of incident type. So the next slide itself relates to specific injuries. And as you can see from the injuries itself, they continue to decline. Our age groups vary on, from infants all the way up to our elderly, but the injuries itself, not just here in the city of Wichita, but statewide, they continue to decline on a regular basis. And we're really, even though those injuries are related to artillery and mortar shells, which guess what? Those are the illegal fireworks in the city of Wichita. I think overall, our safety messages that we continue to promote on our social media sites and all of our media outlets, our partners throughout the city of Wichita, we do think that that is a big factor on the number of injuries on decline. And again, and this is not just the city of Wichita, the state of Kansas has had a decrease in fireworks. Next slide. So during the fireworks season of July 27th through, or June 27th through July 4th, we conduct firework patrol and enforcement efforts. And during that time, the 3rd and 4th of July is when we have our full team of 10 firefighters, along with 20 police officers patrolling the city. We have a total of 10 teams throughout that time frame in those 2 days. But this past year, in 2022, we also did additional enforcements. Wichita Fire Department, we went out and we just patrolled the city beginning on the 30th, in between of a evening window, and patrolled and see if there was any illegal fireworks, and we were able to address that at that time. Again, this year's goal was really to educate. When we did find anybody that was shooting illegal fireworks, and it wasn't you know, to the point of being able to educate them on the dangers and the city ordinance itself. Next slide. So the slide right here is how we do our enforcements. This map, our heat sensing map, is basically we get our data from the year before and we create the map that we're going to be enforcing throughout the city. And as you can see, Beat 48, which with the assistance of WPD, was able to pinpoint all of the hotspot area up in the northwest part of the city. But as you can see, everywhere throughout the city is just illegal fireworks shooting throughout the whole city itself. And this information comes from the 911 non-emergency complaint line from 2021, but also even our neighbors and people that are contacting the police and fire department on specific areas of complaints. Next slide. So during the time of fireworks season of 2022, our community risk middle division completed a total of 26 firework inspections, and at $1,500 a tent, with the city licensing, there was a total of $39,000. With all that, with the $39,000, this is how we were able to compensate our fire department and firefighters on being able to pay them for that time frame. And those funds totaled $37,355. One other thing is the citation. This past year, 2022, we issued a total of 8 citations, which was going to equal to about $2,000. That officially hasn't been confirmed of everybody that has paid, or there still might be court litigation still going on and individuals that have not paid for their tickets, or it might even be contesting their citations. Next slide, please. So in November or late last year, late 2022, Fire Chief Snow met with our acting Fire Marshal Dugan and wanted to see what we can do for the current ordinance, if there's any possible changes to the current ordinance, or even the possibility of partnering up with the state statute. So we had our first meeting with council members, fire department, police department, and the parks department. Was initial meeting was in November of 2022, November. So for that initial meeting, we were getting some information from the council members exactly what direction can we go in. We were saying, do we legalize fireworks, or do we continue to stay status quo and see what type of changes we can do to the enforcement standpoint? Next slide, please. So all those members that were part of the committee, fireworks committee, as you can see, we had 2 council members, Councilmember Fry and Hoheisel, Fire Chief Snow, Interim Fire Marshal Dugan, myself, Sergeant Brower with the Wichita Police Department, and Mr. Davidson from the Parks Department. Next slide. So again, as I mentioned earlier, this consideration that we were contemplating in our first initial meeting is, you know, anybody, I'm sure in this room here, you can go outside specifically through the 3rd and 4th of July and see fireworks. You can just see it. Everybody's having their own show. Everybody's going outside the city limits and purchasing them and coming back into the city itself. So how can we be able to enforce that or even change that policy itself? Again, do we match and marry up with the state statute, which all of our surrounding communities are allowing state mandated or state allowed fireworks? But at the same time, you know, how do we control all of that and for all that fireworks to be able to completely ban it? So we did also our second meeting. We reached out to our stakeholders and we met with large and small firework vendors. And during that time, we received input from them. What is the best possible solution of enforcement or even legalizing it? So we did get some feedback from them, from the business and of pyrotechnic companies. Next slide. So the challenges, as we continue to take consideration and be our #1 priority, is the health and well-being of our community. You know, from a fire standpoint, you know, making sure that your fire is safe from any type of fires, and not even specifically you caused the fire, but your next door neighbors or around your streets and your neighborhood itself, and also being able to get input, seeing the concerned citizens that are for fireworks, but are also against fireworks. We always want to get that input before any type of decision is made and taken to the fireworks committee. But also at the same time, dealing with the facts of the enforceable. Is it really enforceable? We've been doing this for over 5 years now, and just the fact of putting ourselves for the health and well-being of the community, but even putting ourselves as firefighters and fire and police officers out at risk for over fireworks. That's also something that we are taking into consideration to take ourselves out of harm's way and that during that time frame. So one of the things that we come up with is being able to possibly get some solutions on being able to modify the current fireworks ordinance. Next slide. So possible modifications of the fireworks ordinance is to basically do we, again, continue to stay as what we are right now. Anything over 6 foot is illegal and continue to enforce that, or the possibility of matching and following the state statute of the types of fireworks that are legal and illegal, but everything that's in the aerial fireworks allowed to be able to use that as our benchmark of during fireworks seasons. Also, being able to increase our fines. Right now, the current fine is $250 for the time that we issue a citation to individuals. The possibilities of increasing that, hitting them really where it counts at in their pocket, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000. And also being able to do this in different phases, not just doing it everything all at one time, because we still have to make some modifications, some changes, if whichever direction we go in on the city ordinance itself. Next slide. So one of the solutions is to phase 1 this year is to revise our local ordinance and basically follow KR 22-6, which is the state statute for fireworks. Along with issuing following the state statute is issuing a $10 permit. So basically, if you want to shoot fireworks at your residence, you would go through a online process or in person, but be able to apply for a $10 permit. Part of that permit is going to give you specifics of what the city ordinance is, along with safety information and the times and the rules of the shooting fireworks. So it's just being able to make sure that you acknowledge that, and that there's any occurrence or any type of violations that the police or even the firefighters can go out and issue a citation, because you've already had that. Also, the possibility if you don't have a permit, that there is also be issued a citation. Part of the proposal is only to allow aerial fireworks July 1st through 4th. Fireworks season is June 27th, begins June 27th all the way through July 4th. But we're just going to see how the possibility of giving just a short, small window of shooting aerial fireworks. We will continue to allow with the city current ordinances of safe and sound fireworks, and also anything after midnight on these specific days, that's when the enforcement really would take place, is being able to issue citations to be able to control the after hours and the noise complaints that we normally receive from fireworks. Next slide, please. So here we are going to begin during the 1st through the 4th of July. We're going to continue to enforce the noise ordinance, and then also be able to increase our fines for these offenses. And we're still in the works of how to make sure that if it's a first offense, how do we document that so that if the next day or a couple of days later, this address is the same complaints and we're issuing the second one, that we will be able to increase that fine. Or would that be part of the city's law when we write these citations, and be able to have that specific address and location of the number of violations? Next slide. And then phase 2, looking at the results and being able to possibly make some modifications on the proposed phase 1 of 2023. Look at that, but also looking at different types of schedule or fees for tent permits. Right now, there's only one set fee the different regardless of the size of the tent. That's something that we could look at, and we discuss that possibly with our vendors or stakeholders in the pyrotechnics world. to be able to, you know, different sizes have different types of fees for square footage for those tents. And that's something that all of our jurisdictions, our neighbors around the city of Wichita currently operate on that. And another thing possibly for phase 2 in 2024 is to look at having some type of sales tax created for public safety on the sales of fireworks that will go directly for fire and PD services. Next slide. So throughout all of this right now, you know, we have already been in contact with the city of Wichita communications team and coming up with different ideas on whichever direction we're going with legalizing or changing the current ordinance. But I think overall, we already been in communication to start sending out these public service announcements on the direction we're going to go in. Also from that $10 permit, we're working with other departments and city licensing to develop and create that link that we can have online to be able to issue everything from your shooting fireworks permits. Right now, I'm attending DAB meetings. DAB 6 is my second district advisory board that I've attended. The rest of the ones that I will be attending will be next month. And then after that, we're going to accumulate all the information and questions and concerns from each district advisory board and take it to legal, start that process, the possibility, and being able to decide in which direction we'll go with this type of a change or modification to our current ordinance. But also being able to possibly have a decision and move forward to going with the proposed change. And then also come June, that's when all the public education and messaging will be on what's allowed, what's not allowed, and go through that process and communication. Next slide. That's the conclusion of the presentation. I'm open for questions, concerns that I could hope to be able to answer. If not, I will make sure that I'll be able to get those answers to you if there's something that I can't answer right here and this evening. Yes, sir.
I have several concerns.
So it comes to the panel first, right? Well, I was wondering, you're talking about the fines for violations. The violations would be typically like going past midnight. Are there gonna be size restrictions? I mean, are we taking 6 feet to 30 feet or?
Well, so anything that's basically aerial fireworks is going to fall under the state statute. So anything that goes above, say specifically bottle rockets. Bottle rockets are illegal throughout the state. We still will not allow those types of fireworks, and also sky lanterns. Sky lanterns aren't allowed either, but everything else from the different types of mortars that are consumer grade will be allowed to be shot.
Well, that's gonna confuse people because everybody associates bottle rockets with aerial fireworks.
But you can't purchase those type of fireworks, even outside the city of Wichita, Sedgwick County, or even Butler County. None of the vendors sell bottle rockets.
My kids have grown up, so I don't know.
I have a question. I'm just trying to understand the reasoning to have the sales go in phase 2 versus the sales start in phase 1 of the aerial.
So the phase 1 from the first through the fourth, I think for the first phase, we're just looking at having a small window, a specific time when those areas.
It's actually about year 1 and year 2.
Yeah, the year 1, year 2, because I think
2023, we're not allowing
Sales.
to be sold.
sold, yeah.
Well, yeah, we are, we're right there, that we're just allowing them just through the first through the fourth.
Shooting, but not sell. So if you roll to 2024. You indicate that we're not legalized aerial fireworks sales in the city of Wichita. So we're not allowing sales until 2024.
Well, that might be the reason why that change there is we're looking at the possibility of we might allow from the 27th through the 30th or through the
Okay,
4th.
so sales, so we would allow aerial sales.
Yes, so sales would be part of phase 1. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
phase 1 will be part of sales and shooting throughout just that specific time period.
That's awesome.
Adjust your.
So phase 2 just widens the window.
Which I do think there's gonna be some confusion on oh, I can shoot aerials during this time period, but not during this time period, like I can see that being.
Yes, but if you
Sure.
sign up for your license, you should be educated.
Well, that's, but a lot of faith.
And even, the information, you know, from last year when the Wichita Fire Department went out and patrolled, I patrolled the 30th and the 1st during that time. And there really wasn't that much action. We had some complaints, they were mostly noise complaints, and those were the safe and sane type of fireworks. You might have saw 1 or 2 aerials, but it wasn't that bad. It's just those, and it boils down to just the 3rd and the 4th is really when the city. This year alone, 4th of July is going to this schedule, well, not scheduled, but it's going to occur on the 4th, on Tuesday. It falls on a Tuesday this year, so you know. And that's one of the things that we looked at, and we just allow the 3rd and the 4th, then we're taking into consideration the day of the week that it falls on. So what can possibly occur that 1st and 2nd, which is on that Saturday and Sunday? Because the only holiday is that Tuesday unless individuals take vacation that Wednesday, and then that following day after the 4th. So again, there's a lot of things from phase 1 to phase 2 to be able to learn from the specifically of phase 1 that we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves room to make changes and what's in the betterment of the city. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I think it's probably quite hard to come up with a really tractable solution to all this, but I just have one suggestion, maybe like piggybacks on top of the permitting is what about looking at permitting for neighborhood associations instead of just individuals. That way, maybe you get a little bit more community accountability, you get more neighborhood involvement, right? Maybe there's even an opportunity to do have people do their fireworks like at a specific location in the neighborhood during that time that's kind of run by the neighborhood association. And also again, like kind of funneling information flow through that as well might help to make your job a little bit easier.
But not every resident lives in a neighborhood association.
But a whole lot of them do, and some of them are even being
Expanded.
expanded to neighborhoods too. So I mean, I think there's, and just even looking at your map, too, a lot of those places are within neighborhood association, or you could do, you know, same thing with HOAs.
And
Too,
if
right.
you go to the map, you'd be able to see on the map, just because it's not highlighted in the area, or you don't see things occurring in other parts on the east side and even west side. Though that part of the city is just not making complaints.
Well, and I think that's another kind of.
And that's really what
Yeah.
happened, you know, because again, on top of the Wind Surge headquarters building along McLean, I'm up there for the city's fireworks show. And I reported, and you can just see it from miles everywhere.
You may also have neighborhoods with like a culture of fireworks, right?
Yes.
That don't particularly mind it, but they
Yes.
still have some safety issues as well.
I wrote that down as something I can take back to the committee.
When I used to live in the Fairmount neighborhood, all the neighbors would gather in Fairmount Park and just kind of all did the community.
I've got a couple. So you said you did 26 tent inspections. Is that part of the permitting process for those tents, or are you looking for particular violations when you go do them?
No, so the 26 permits is the total number of applications that went through the city licensing for tent permits.
Okay.
To shoot or to sell fireworks. These are our local vendors that have applied, and those are the total that we had 26 tents that were selling city allowed fireworks.
Okay. On the larger aerial fireworks, do you think those are safe for use within the city? Like I know that we have a lot of weather variation stuff, but if we start to allow those, is it gonna be safe?
I think it's already been proven right now what goes on with the city right now during that time frame.
I know.
Most of our fires, well, I won't say most of, I would say 99% of our fires occur from improper disposal rather than the illegal use of the fireworks themselves. As the fireworks have dispersed and they burst up in the sky and they start falling down, it hasn't statistically, you know, out of the 6 fires that we had structurally, don't know. I think maybe 1 or 2 of them were related specifically to illegal fireworks. But other than that, all of our fires are occurring from improper disposal. And that's where one of our messages are going to be directed a lot to how to properly dispose of fireworks.
Okay. On the permit, will the permit be required for any fireworks or just the aerial fireworks?
So the permit is going to be related to any type of fireworks, regardless, from that time period. You apply for a, permit for that specific address, 18 years or older, and there'll be a checklist and check mark that you acknowledge. And then you'll be able to read all the, safety precautions and what the laws are, and then you'll be able to, give you a receipt online if that's the preferred way to be able to do everything. You'll keep that as your record.
Okay, and then are you expecting to sell those permits online, or will you be selling them in the tents, or?
So one of the things when we did meet with the vendors was, the possibility of partnering up with them to be able to sell those. They have their own system, and I think it'll be a lot, and just speaking with them, it's going to be a lot much more difficult to be able to say who paid for them, who didn't, to be able to track that. So we'll be having a link or in-person type of capability to be able to purchase those permits.
So you do think a person could go online and buy one?
Yeah,
for their home address? Okay,
We're working on a link right now with the city of Wichita to be able to have that set up.
and you're expecting to do it by address, not by person, right?
By address, yes, by local address.
Great.
Following up on that, so would they be required to show that they purchased that $10 permit before they can buy fireworks?
No, it won't have anything to do with you purchasing fireworks at all.
But on your fine schedule, and so. Have you thought through, so if someone is shooting just under 6 feet. Doesn't have a license. Still $1,000 fine. Have we thought through kind of what that schedule looks like, are there offenses that are more if you're shooting aerials and don't have a license? If you have a license, then you're shooting illegal fireworks, bottle rockets, whatever, just the different scenarios of, is it a blanket fine?
Right now, yes, right now it's going to be a blanket fine, and right now, hopefully, with the phase that we're trying to implement this year. The fine will be mostly related to after hours, or between June 30th through July 31st, or June 31st to be, if you're shooting June 27th through June 30th, if you're shooting fireworks that are aerial that you're not supposed to.
So conceptually, I understand the permit, I am not a fan of that permit. I mean. It seems kind of un-American. Go buy fireworks, I'll follow the numbers. They're under 6 feet, and I'll go out of town to buy aerials, and now for my kids to throw firecrackers to light smoke bombs. I gotta pony up $10. Doesn't seem, it seems like we're penalizing a bunch of people that have been following the rules. For a small bunch of folks that haven't, so they can shoot aerials. In my opinion, I think if we do something like, it's kind of like garage sales, we're supposed to have a permit when we do garage sales. Does that get policed? My guess is probably not. So, I think if you're gonna do something like that, we probably ought to take a look at the fine schedule. $1,000 for not having a license. That's probably a little excessive.
If you had a $10 fee from everybody that was shooting, would that allow you to really step up the enforcement part? Would you be able to really aggressively enforce that, or is people the limitation? You just not having enough people to go out and enforce more, or?
So it's twofold on that. Yes, there's not enough firefighters and police officers to be able to enforce that as much as what's going on in the city. We could put out 100 teams out there. Individuals are going to shoot what they want to shoot, and I agree with you, from following the law of the city of Wichita, the ordinance, to the mass number of individuals at neighborhoods and everybody shooting the illegal fireworks. I think of some of that, again, we have no idea on the amount of the permits can accumulate. But I think a lot of that will want to bring back into for public education and continue to be able to inform everybody of the ordinance and the safety precautions, and get even our other partners from EMS and police to be part of all these messages along with us.
Kind of seems, like the permit maybe is doing too much right now, because I agree with Scott in some ways, like it seems like you're gonna have a very difficult time tracking down all these like non-permanent people, but really the permit is about this public education. It's about bringing people into this kind of new regime and awareness.
And just acknowledgement of what the ordinance is, yeah.
Right, so like trying the low barrier to entry to the permit seems like the most important. Should it be $5, right? Could there be like just maybe some even like opt out and like. The mere purchase of fireworks opts you in to the permit regardless, like your receipt is your permit. Right, for that, did you buy fireworks, now you have a permit, but it's really how do you get that education to them? More than, because you're not gonna bump the fire department on $10 permits, that's not.
You gotta give out enough $1,000 fines, you will.
Well, it involves the fines, right, but we, again, like what Scott's saying, we don't wanna make just automatic criminalization of people. Especially during like an education phase, right, so I think there's like maybe a focus. That could be tightened just in terms of like how the permit like brings people into that.
So we looked at different types
Could
of,
you make the permit or the radius?
even outside, we looked at outside agents or outside of the state. They range from $100, $200 all the way up to $5. So there's quite a number of range, and it's not something that we came up with or we wanted to say, hey, let's just do this. Again, this is something that's first time doing this, the possibility of us legalizing fireworks, that aerial fireworks is going to be a big change for everyone in the city.
Is it possible that the permit could be just for aerial displays? And not just for kids with fountains and sparklers?
Yeah, it can be, and it's not specifically, for Satan saying fireworks, if that's all you shoot. We would prefer for you to understand what the laws are and the safety precaution of that information that you're able to receive from the permits. But again, it's just being able to educate everyone on what's allowed and safety precaution. So just not specifically for aerials, it's just for fireworks as a whole right now.
I understand, but that would be my suggestion as a, I would approve that if we would just apply the license to the aerial portion that we just implemented. Just keep everything else the way it is.
I think you have to say, I think we have back to what I believe you said earlier. When you were looking at the metrics. The majority of the responses that you guys have, the fire department has to make, is not related to aerials. It's disposal of the after product, which includes smoke bombs, rolling tanks, whatever. They're hot. Did I miss?
No, that's perfect. Yes, sir.
Okay, we have one question from Angela online. We have a DAP member who's joining us on Zoom. Angela, do you have a question?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm sorry, you may have said this, but the curfew on this for the 3rd and the 4th, since the 4th is on a Tuesday, you said? What is
Yes, ma'am.
what is the curfew?
So the curfew for the 4th of July would be midnight. All fireworks are just allowed from 10 a.m. to midnight. With the current, ordinances, yeah,
I'm sorry?
with the current ordinances, that's even the way it is right now, even with the everything below 6 feet.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. So the 6 feet and above, what's the curfew for that? Is it the same?
Yes, ma'am. It would be,
Okay.
that's the way we're the direction that we're going to for the proposal.
Oh, okay. Well, my concern is that it's a weeknight and people like me who have to get up at 5 a.m, who are trying to go to sleep and something might catch fire and I won't know it. I don't know, I'd feel more comfortable if the curfew was 11, but, because if you go 11, they're gonna go till 12, you go 12, they're gonna go till midnight. So that's just a comment that I had. And then, oh gosh, I forgot I waited so long, I forgot what my other question was.
There was even in the previous district advisory board that I attended, that was one of the concerns also during the weekday to reduce that time frame from midnight to say 10 o'clock. So again, those are ideas and that I will take back to the fireworks committee.
Okay. Okay, I forgot my other question. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's go up to the public for
I'm looking at this thing from the point of view of a munitions officer. I was a munitions officer in the Air Force. Had to store a lot of pyrotechnics. I'm looking at it from the point of view of somebody who has a master's in economics. There's a lot of dangers to fireworks that are beyond the just immediate fire and this display thing. There's the toxic chemicals that they pour into the air. They're very toxic, especially to hard on people with asthma and stuff like that, because there's heavy metals that make these exotic colors and stuff in these munitions. Once they're fired, the pollution does not just drift off in the air. That residue sits in the cardboard and paperwork and everything that's then washed down into the sewer. I live at 10th and McLean, and we have a bunch of people that fired fireworks, left the street litter with this stuff, and when it rained next time, it was in the sewer and down into the river. Highly toxic stuff. There's the balance of payments. We spend millions and millions of dollars every year for fireworks, and those dollars are going out of this country into the Chinese munitions industry, the Mexican munitions industry, whatever. Places where we don't want dollars going at this point in time. We can't afford it. You know, we've got a horrible balance of payments now. We don't need to aggravate it by giving these people millions of dollars. We have additional costs in the national transportation system because we're moving tons and tons of hazardous stuff, highly dangerous stuff across our national transportation network. Yeah, these are things I want you to consider when you're dealing with this kind of stuff. And at my church, we had a fireworks tent, and it was out in the middle of this great big open parking lot at 29th and McLean. But then when we had church or an activity, a patriotic activity going on in the church, we had cars parked all around this. I couldn't have done this in foreign countries where our station. I could not have had a danger
Do
building.
you have a question?
Those are the comments.
A question.
Are you going to limit the area around these fireworks tents so to restrict parking and
Well, that's already, there's already rules and regulations to fireworks tents on clearing snow smoking and shooting fireworks within 50 feet of those.
Yeah, but
tents
you allow
themselves.
parking around them.
So, you know, those are still, we'll still be able to look at that and make some possible changes. I'll make sure that, I'll put that down to make sure that we review that also part of our current tent ordinances, or tents themselves, the regulations for selling fireworks.
Any other questions?
I have one. My name is Ron Tinker. I live in North Riverside. On the offenses, you say that it would reset from year 1 to year 2.
As
On the slide there.
1,500,
Yeah, it would reset to the next year.
Yeah, that's.
They want to learn from the first years that they shouldn't blow the stuff off in the second year.
I would, yeah.
Well, can it just continue to escalate?
The possibility, I can write that down to make sure that if there is a recurrence at this address, and we'll have to somehow or another verify that it's the same individual. Or
naturally.
that address hasn't moved or new residents there.
I think we're going at the wrong direction. We're trying to fit our laws, our community to what the state is. The state is a rural community or a rural state, generally speaking. We have nearly 400,000 people in this city in a small area. It's not conducive to aerial fireworks. You have $181,000 worth of damage last year. The year before that, 183. You know, the people that were harmed by these damages, have they recovered from those that they received from last year? So perhaps maybe we should go to the state and ask the state if they can pass laws that would require the tents to ask for an ID to make sure that they're selling fireworks that person can shoot in at their address. So people that go over to Andover, they show their ID, Andover can tell them, no, we can't sell you that, but we can sell you this. So you can still get a sale, but they can't sell the tall stuff. I think that's the direction we need to go to. We need to go to the state.
I mean, basically what we're doing is we're setting the regulations to match reality. I mean, this is what happens. We see it every 4th of July. People go, they buy the stuff, they shoot it off in the neighborhoods. And people still gonna complain when it's too loud. And when it's too late, it's gonna be kind of the same. But it just gives you a little more control over what the situation.
Or not control the way it currently is, we have no control over what's occurring right now. Not feasible. I've been out there for 5 years myself directly. I called myself out in trouble, me and my partner firefighters, because we were being surrounded by citizens that were taking away their American rights. It's not a fun time to be out in the streets either for us.
Yeah.
So, I'll take everything in consideration. I took notes down. At any time, if there's any further questions, please, Anna has my point of contact, Councilmember Baller, anybody, send me my information on the city of Wichita, phone number, email, please, any questions, any other additional concerns, I will be continuing to attend the district advisory boards and, accumulating all the questions and concerns and be, informing the fireworks committee on our findings.
And you can certainly send them to me too.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Appreciate it.
Our, we do need a motion for number 6.
It just says provided.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it's provided.
That's okay. Okay, we're gonna move on to our first zoning case, 2023-0001.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Christina Reed, and I'm one of the associate planners here with the planning department, and this is my district, so I'm excited to be here. This is zone case number 2023-01. So the applicant is requesting a zone change on their property from SF5 single-family residential district to MF18, and that is located at 1606 West 20th Street North. And the purpose of the zone change request is to convert an existing structure into a triplex. So it's currently developed with a residential structure that has recently been renovated. The project included converting the attached garage into a living space. And according to the zoning code, MF18 zoning district permits up to 17.4 dwelling units per acre. Therefore, the maximum density permitted is 7 dwelling units. However, the applicant does not intend to add any additional buildings except for the triplex that they're doing. So for that reason, we're implementing a protective overlay, and I'll go into depth into that a little bit further into the report. Properties to the north, east, and west are zoned SF5 single-family residential district and developed with single-family homes. However, if you look at the property to the south, across West 20th Street, there's an apartment complex that's zoned be multifamily, so we're not introducing a new use into this area. They are going to require screening because it's a multifamily zone property that abuts residential properties. And they are going to have to require, we are going to require a landscape plan prior to the issuance of building permits. And they have to conform with the parking standards that are set forth in the zoning code. So the multifamily development requires 1.25 parking stalls per 1-bedroom units and 1.75 stalls per 2-bedroom or larger units. And the zoning code also prohibits placing off-street parking spaces within the front setback. Compatibility height standards requirements restrict the building height to 35 feet. When a structure is within 50 feet of a lot zone TF3 or more restrictive. So the current structure does not exceed 35 feet. They're just converting a garage into a living space, so they're not adding any height onto that building. A little bit of case history. There's no zoning cases associated with this property. In terms of conformance to our plans and policies, the requested zoning is in conformance with the plans 2035 Wichita Future Growth Concept Map, because that map identifies the area to be appropriate for residential uses. And it aligns with the goals of the Wichita Places for People plan. The subject site is located within an area of opportunity, and by converting the existing building, the site maintains the character of that existing neighborhood. So we're seeing that slow incremental development in the area. There's some strategies that are associated with the Places for People plan. Strategy number 5 recommends providing a diversity of housing options within the established central area to attract new residents and allow existing residents to remain in the ECA. And that's exactly what this is doing here. We have the existing residents who want to add on to their space and remain in the area. And then strategy number 6 recommends encouraging infill development that is contextual to the environment in which it's occurring. So a nodal development pattern encourages higher density development closer to the node, and a step down of intensity of distance as or away as the node increases. And so multifamily development here, when you think about this apartment complex here, and you see the single family houses, it sort of serves as a transition between that. So the requested zoning is in partial conformance with the goals of the 21st Street North corridor revitalization plan. So one of the goals states that they want to increase the long-term economic renewal, vitality, and sustainability of the 21st Street North corridor revitalization plan area. However, the requested zone change is not in conformance with the plan's preferred use land map because it identifies it as appropriate for single-family residential use. Based on the information at the time the staff report was completed, staff recommends approval of the zone change request subject to protective overlay number 406. So the maximum number of dwelling units shall be 3 because that's what the applicant is asking for. And we don't want to have too much density within this area that has a lot of single family residences, right? Site plan shall be submitted to the planning department for review and approval prior to the issuance of building permits. And that'll include the number of required parking spaces and the solid screening on the ones abutting the single family residential. They have to submit a landscape plan. And as I mentioned before, none of the parking spaces shall be in the front setback. And any additions to the existing structure or new building shall have compatible residential character. And we're going to review, the planning department is going to actually review those building elevations prior to the issuance of building permits. I have not received any comments from the public. Well, I should say I received one phone call, but she just said that she received a letter and she was, yeah, so that was it. So this did go to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission on February 23rd, and it was approved on the 5th. And with that, I will stand for questions. Any questions?
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, the compatible residential character, I mean, I don't know that there's a single triplex in that whole area. And that house, I mean, if you just look at it architecturally, I don't see how it could be divided into 3 units. It's just, I can see where it may be making it 2. I mean, it was a large house, it was a large home. And I don't know, I don't think Claire Willenberg would do it as compatible. Not that
So she was actually the one that I spoke to about this letter. So I the one phone. Like, okay, I received the letter, so.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's probably gonna be your opinion.
Any other questions?
So I guess I just want to make sure I understand, they're not looking to construct a new structure, they just want to divide the existing structure, they have the existing dwelling and they have converted a garage to another dwelling, right?
Yes.
And so they're gonna somehow substitute their,
It was a large garage.
put that up, okay.
Yeah.
Then I'll make a motion to approve the zoning change, subject to.
You guys are ready?
I'm ready.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Angela. There's 7 people present. Correct.
And
That would be 12. Yeah, it's 7. Okay. Motion passes.
Is it the property that has a sign on it that says for sale by the contractor?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move to the next item, zoning case 2024.
Do we have 3 and 2 first? Do we have? On item 8, we were just on 0, 0, 0, 1, right, item 7.
Oh.
I think that's number 8, 002, plot 0.
So we have. So it's a zone. There's 2 zone DUPs. I'm just making sure I have this right. So it's zone 2023 triple or quadruple 03 and CUP 2023 quadruple 02. Yes. All right. Okay, sorry. All good. Just making sure I have my papers in the right order, that's why. So the applicant for this zoning case has 3 requests. One is to amend the Moorings Plaza to community unit plan. 2 is to amend the protective overlay number 234, and 3 a zone change to general office district. So the total subject site here is 38.19 acres in size. However, the requested zone change only applies to 6 acres, and subject site is currently undeveloped. So anytime there's a zone change or they're amending the amount of land being moved around within the CUP, that's when we have to do a major amendment for the CUP and a zone change. So this was a little confusing when I first picked it up. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look over it, if you guys have any questions about it, but I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can. So the Moorings Plaza CUP DP 311 consists of 2 parcels which front North Meridian Avenue. Now, could we scroll down to the diagram with the color of the different colored parcels?
Page 13.
There we go, that one. Okay, so so parcel 1 to the north, which is the round one at the very top there, the half round one, that is owned LC Limited Parcel District. And parcel 2 to the south, which is this skinny strip here, is currently zoned NR Neighborhood Retail District. So what they're requesting to do is remove parcel 2 and reserve A from CPDP 311. And then parcel 2 is the one that's divided by Harbor Light Street, which it hasn't been paved yet. So if you guys try to drive by it and you didn't see it, that's because it hasn't been paved yet. So they're requesting to change the zoning in the northern half of parcel 2 from Neighborhood Retail District to Geo General Office District. And the southern half of the parcel 2 will remain Neighborhood Retail District and will no longer be within the CUP. Parcel 1 will remain in the CUP. So that is the first part of this zoning case. Then the applicant seeks to remove property west of what is currently parcel 2 of CPDP 311 from protective overlay number 234. That's this part here. Yep. And change the zoning on that parcel from MF18 to Geo General Office District. So with the zone change, the CUP amendment, and the protective overlay amendment, properties north of West Harbor Light Street and West Pierport Street, they'll all be in green here. And they'll have unified zoning of Geo General Office District that is outside of that CUP. So the southern parcels that are west of what is currently parcel 2 will remain subject to the protective overlay. So the part in orange you see here will still be part of protective overlay number 230. Let's see, I lost where it was here. And then, so just a general overview of the difference between Geo General Office District and NR Neighborhood Retail District. So General Office District overall is a more restrictive zoning. The one exception to that is the residential density that is permitted on site. So a Neighborhood Retail District allows a maximum density of 21 dwelling units per acre, and GO allows 75.1 dwelling units per acre. But in terms of like, you know, height restrictions and setbacks, they're pretty much the same, if not, GO is more restrictive than that. Because the properties fronting West Harbor Light Street and West Pierport Street abut single family residential district, so the ones at the bottom there. Sorry, can we go back up to the previous page? Oh, there we go. So the ones at the bottom there, they abut single family residential district zoning, and they're not in the CUP anymore, they'll need to adhere to the screening and landscaping requirements set forth in the zoning code. So just scrolling or just moving on to conformance to plans and policies here. The requested zone change and the CUP amendment are in conformance with the comprehensive plan. And the Wichita Central County Comprehensive Plan within the community investments plan identifies the site as new residential on the future growth concept map. While the applicant has not specified what will be developed on these subject properties, the requested zone change permits residential uses in low intensity commercial uses. The requested zone change, PO amendment and CUP amendment are in conformance with the locational guidelines of the community investments plan. The general development pattern states that higher density residential uses and neighborhood serving retail and office uses should buffer lower density residential uses from major commercial and employment centers and industrial uses. So we still have the MF18 here that has a protective overlay on it. And then we have like the GO and the NR to the east of that. And so that MF18 zoning will sort of serve as a buffer between the single family residential district and the GO district zoning. So based on the information available at the time the staff report was prepared, it is recommended that the request be approved, subject to the conditions in your report. This went to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission on February 23rd, and it was approved 11/01. There were some comments from the public. I was in conversation with them before the MAPC meeting. They were kind of confused on what was going on exactly, but he was concerned that there were going to be apartments here, and I explained to him that it's already MF18 and they're not doing anything with that zoning, so there's already going to be apartments. And I think we're past the protest area or past the date of protest, and we haven't received any protests for this zone change. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Yeah. My assumption is that this was probably the subject for the Mary's homeowners association. Are you aware of any feedback from that?
Oh, are you talking about the meeting that you guys had?
Yeah, I'm Brian Lideback, 411 North Webb Road, MPC Engineering on behalf of the owner and applicant. We did have a well-attended neighborhood meeting. We advertised it in advance of this case. It was on February 9th at 6 p.m. at River Longer. And I'd say there was probably 70, 80 people there in attendance. It was announced that the primary user for the property, the green portion of the property, is intended to be for the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Church. So they intend to purchase it and develop it. And so that was announced. But all in all, I think most of the questions that were at the neighborhood meeting revolved around aesthetics maybe and some height questions. And we had, the current owners are here as well tonight, and I, maybe just ask them, can you think of anything else that was primarily?
No, and there was further discussion at the planning commission. There was several neighbors, but only one spoke. And none had any objection, or he said he was gonna file an objection, but I think after we discussed what was happening and the fact that what they had been kind of misinformed about was that the protective overlay was going to be released, where the protective overlay remains on the lots between them and the green area, and that had been kind of circulating that the protective overlay was being removed. And so it is not.
The yellow dash line is where the protective overlay will be in effect beyond to the west, and then it'll be released on just the green part of the case.
My assumption, which may not be correct, are you Kurt?
Yes, I'm Kurt. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not trying to create a family rift. Brad, are you pretty much in concurrence with this?
Yes, it seemed to go well from
Okay.
meetings.
There's a few chairs between you.
Well, he came later.
Yeah, I feel like most of the questions that were asked were just, what is it gonna be? There's a lot of questions just about that, but those people wanted.
Can I ask a quick question?
Certainly.
With the increased traffic from is there gonna be a light there at Lighthouse or other light?
I don't believe there'll be a light there.
Okay, so I can tell my friend that lives up in there that will have some issues with getting in and out of his property.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, it's a church. I mean, and it's a neighborhood up there. So I think, certainly, the city can evaluate at such time that there are traffic complaints, but they can look into putting a light there, but I suspect just my background and things that there won't be a need for a light there.
Well, and it gives us one more entry exit. Whereas everything was kind of jammed up on Key West, so when this does go in, hopefully it'll alleviate some of the traffic from the neighborhood. Which ought to help in general.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the zoning change with the conditions that are listed.
First second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to. Regarding the 2023 4.
Yeah, which really is.
We have 5 reports tonight, so we appreciate you guys being here. This is zone case 2023-04. The applicant is requesting a zone change from SF5 single family residential district and B multifamily residential district to LC limited commercial district in order to bring an existing building into conformance. The subject site is currently developed with a 1,440 square foot office and a 1,500 square foot storage space previously utilized with the lot to the south for construction sales and services by a fence contracting company. I forgot to mention, this is at 824 Northwest Street, right? And so the applicant intends to sell the subject property and wants to bring it into compliance before doing so. So good on that part. The subject site fronts Northwest Street and is part of the existing mixed-use corridor along the arterial. In this area, moderate density commercial uses and high density residential uses abut lower density residential neighborhoods to the east and west. The zoning code is going to require screening of the commercial properties when abutting or across the street or alley from residential zoning districts. And so there's already an existing screening fence located along the perimeter of the subject site and shall be maintained to comply with this requirement. This property is amazingly unplatted, and in order to obtain a building permit, they are going to have to plat the property, and there are no zoning actions that have been associated with this property in the past. The proposed change is in conformance with the community investments plan. The 2035 Wichita Future Growth Concept Map identifies the area as appropriate for industrial land use. Amazing that it's SF5 and it's considered appropriate for industrial. And then if you look around the area, properties to the north, south, and west of the subject site are zoned LC limited commercial district and are developed with commercial or high density residential uses. So approval of the requested zone change would permit future site development consistent with the context of the development existing along the commercial corridor. The Wichita Places for People Plan recommends the organization of places based on their scale or intensity of development. And then based on the information available at the time the staff report was completed, staff recommends approval of the request. And this was heard by the MAPC on March 9th, and it was approved on consent, and there have been no comments from the public. With that, I will stand for questions.
Could we go to, because it's been, I've slept a few times since I looked at this, came online. Could we look at the color-coded map with the current area?
Yeah, so as you can see,
Yeah.
the red is limited commercial.
And that's the zone that they want to
Yes.
bring it into.
Mhm.
Do you know how long it's been non-conforming?
I can't speak to that.
And are there any consequences for having blatantly constructed something was not.
Well, this was built in 1950, and then the additional storage was in 1990. The commercial office was built in 1950. So,
But this is a huge, it's like a manufacturing building, it's a huge thing to be right. It's abutting in a residential area.
It's limited commercial, yes.
Yeah, I just mean that the sense of the building, when you look at it, it comes right from the sidewalk.
the building.
It was a residence when the steel building was attached to it, and they've been using this thing for years. We've had others come to us, one on North Meridian, in fact, it was a large steel building that was identified as residential, and then when we could general office for commercial selling. We have a similar situation.
Do you want to make a motion?
I would make a motion to accept staff recommendation for approval of zone change.
All in favor?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on. Hopefully I know number 2. It's okay. Zoning case 2023-0006. Do that.
All right, we have a very similar zone change CP request to one of them that I presented 2 reports ago. It's literally on the same street. It's about a quarter of a mile down. So the applicant is requesting a zone change on what they propose to be parcel 8 of CEP DPT 323 from Office Warehouse District to GC General Commercial District. And then a minor amendment to the Moorings Plaza Community Unit Plan for CEP DPT 323. So the subject site properties are 14.19 acres in size, and they're zoned Office Warehouse District and LC Limited Commercial District. And this is located at 4319 North Meridian. The applicant is requesting the zone change primarily to allow residential uses on what will become parcel 8. And parcel 8 is this giant upside down L1, and then there's like the reserve just below that. Because the proposed, so what happened was they submitted a CUP amendment, and there were they wanted to propose residential uses on there, but the underlying zoning does not permit residential uses. So they're doing this amendment to request residential uses. So while GC General Commercial permits high intensity commercial industrial development, the CUP is by saying what uses are allowed on that CUP, they're restricting the most high intensity uses, and the zone change would allow a range of residential and low intensity commercial development. If they wanted more intense uses that are allowed in GC, they would have to amend the CUP in order to do that, and they haven't done that yet. So, so that's one part of the zone change, and then the applicant seeks to amend the parcel boundaries and provisions for CUP DP 323. So if we look at the CUP here, well, this is the proposed one. You have these very nice uniform parcels that are pretty much the same size compared to, the aerial map, which is just this mishmash of parcels that are all different sizes and whatever. So parcels 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the current CUP would be reconfigured into 7 parcels with a reserve A. And then the applicant seeks to amend the general provisions of CUP DP 323. They're in your report. It would take forever to explain. They're basically rewriting this new CUP. So the revised CUP adds land uses for each of its parcels. Parcels 1 through 7, they restrict certain uses on the property that include residential uses and more intense uses such as vehicle repair, wireless communication facility, and asphalt or concrete plant. However, it permits certain uses on parcels 2 through 7 that normally require a conditional use, such as entertainment and establishment in the city, an event center in the city. And the reason why they're doing that is because the CUP amendment acts in lieu of a conditional use because the public hearing process is the same for that. So you can have things that normally require a conditional use that are allowed within the CUP. But as long as the public hearing process is the same, it's fine, right? So lastly, the revised document it cleans up the CUP and it removes all parcels from the CUP that were previously eliminated by either the CUP amendment from 2018 or a PB from 2022. Parcels 20 and 21, which are north of Shearwater Street, would be removed from the CUP. And then I'm just gonna pause here for a minute because you guys did receive a copy of this packet here. So after this application was submitted, they wanted to make some additional revisions to the CUP. And so one of them, instead of let's see, so for parcels 1 through 7, we have a nightclub in the city, the entertainment establishment in the city and event center in the city. It's just a slight increase. So nightclub in the city, as you may be aware, is if there's alcohol and entertainment in the same space, whether that's live music or karaoke. And then for parcel 8, which is the upside down L here, they want to add vehicle storage yard as one of the permitted uses. And then nightclub in the city as well. If parcel 8 develops as a vehicle storage yard, the said yard shall be prohibited on the north 185 feet of parcel 8. And let's see what else here. There's some other edits here to the screening requirements and building signage. They just want to, it's pretty much the same as the unified zoning code or the sign code, I should say. The building signage shall be limited to 20% of the wall area, but they wanted to further clarify that it shall not exceed 400 square feet. And I had a conversation with the department about this, and we are in agreement with these revisions. So there's that. And then we go back to the regular report here. The proposed application is in conformance with the community investments plan. And the map, the 2035 Wichita Future Growth Concept Map, identifies the area as located to be appropriate for new residential. Parcels 1 through 7 could be developed with a variety of limited commercial uses. And then the zone change for parcel 8 would permit residential development. So based upon the information available at the time the staff report was prepared, we are recommending the amendment to CUP 23 and the zone change be approved based on the conditions listed in your staff report. So you guys have 3 options today. So the first one is to accept the zone change and CUP amendment based on the recommendations in your original report. And then you also have the option to approve based on the revisions that are in the packet that are given to you. That would mean that it would go non-consent to city council, but we are in agreement with the revisions that are in that packet, or you can deny, obviously. So
You guys are in agreement with
yes,
the
we are.
revisions?
Again, Brian Lindeback, I'm representing the owners as well on this case, and we prepared these revisions quite some time ago, as you'll note on the date. We just had some miscommunications between the planning department and so what ended up in the staff report. Some of these recommendations for changes were made by the planning staff. And so that's why we got them added to here, particularly the nightclub in the city, because of the type of zoning and the types of uses that we have with potential for alcohol. So it'd be my request that you would graciously approve what's on the packet that I gave you with the amended revisions, and that way we wouldn't have to come back again and fix it. So this
Was there any protests with this?
No, there were no protests received, and I think, again, I received a phone call or two. They were just confused about what was going on. So,
It was approved on consent last Thursday at the planning commission.
and they wanted to bring the packet up at MEPC, but there were some technical issues on our end, so we couldn't get them to,
Soon.
yeah.
Anyone entertain a motion?
I have a couple questions.
Oh, sure.
Could we go back to the well, that map will do. The dog leg,
Yes.
remind me, what is that request to change? Is it to go to GO? or-
I can help explain that a little bit. If you would go back to the zoning map, I want to give you a little bit of background on what we're asking and why we're asking it. So a couple of years ago, the orange that's next door, that's MF 18. We thought as an option, this is a little unusual shape and a little unusual parcel to get to. We thought it might be a good idea to, instead of having no residences allowed on that sliver of ground, if someone wanted to purchase that orange parcel and this parcel, they could certainly develop it as a multifamily parcel altogether as one. So that's the reasoning why we took it to general commercial. And then secondarily, we wanted the option if something like that didn't happen, that they could develop it with a mini storage or a storage type facility for primarily, the intent is primarily for the residents nearby and the moorings to use that. And some of those folks may have a boat or something that they want to store outside. So that's where the vehicle storage came into play. And we wanted to just to make sure we had that as an option. It's very hidden back there. So that bodes well for security as well as visual aesthetics. And certainly a wall would be built if there were any or screening would be in place if there was any outdoor storage. So that's kind of the crux of why we did what we did and why we had to do a zone change for that.
So who owns the berm between the orange?
That
Is that part of the green? Or are you-
part of the berm, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly where that line exactly is, but I think probably the berm may be on the school, the church's property, which is the orange property, if I had to guess.
The second question I have, the nightclub in the city, is that parcel far enough away from both the existing churches that are on Meridian and the likelihood of the new one being built up closer to Key West?
In my opinion, yes, but
It's
Based on ordinance.
It's with this approval, it would trump that issue.
We trump that issue.
Well, there's a 200-foot separation. And what I would just make sure you understand that this is not as a primary use, it's as an accessory use. So you couldn't have if you will, a nightclub running here that's, selling just strictly drinks. It's more of an accessory use. So
to a restaurant.
So a restaurant,
Yeah.
so something of that nature.
And currently, there's no church there.
There are two churches, one on the basically two red parcels. They're flanked by churches, so yes. The intent is so that if you wanted to have a small venue, maybe they have some music. And then, having music involved with alcohol, that's when you get in trouble with the ordinances. So, I think I've done enough of these zone changes where the goal is to have a small scale operation if you're gonna have something like that. And another thought is, we're working with the developer that's developing the neighborhood next door. And, we'd like the idea of if there's a small little neighborhood type operation, they could simply walk to it as opposed to getting in your car and driving somewhere else. So that's another kind of thought process that was going on here is to create an amenity for the neighborhood as well as the area as a whole.
Yeah, our neighborhood is just on the other side of the tracks, so
Okay.
there's a lot of interest in having an eating establishment.
Yeah.
closer to the area.
Yeah.
Just one clarification.
Yeah.
The difference between the intent for a nightclub.
Yeah.
And
I think just main thing is just keep in mind it's not the primary use, it'd be a secondary or accessory use.
Yeah.
Ready for a motion?
All right, I will make a motion to approve, both. Based on staff recommendations.
Staff revisions.
Yes.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Can I ask one question related to that? On the odd shaped L piece there? So the intent is to, basically allow the neighbors there to park RVs or boats or those kinds of things. It's not like they couldn't put, scrap cars in there.
No, because vehicle storage yard is different than junkyard salvage.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I bought one, I figure out a way to restore it. I had to change the headlights, right? Okay.
Do we have to do the sneaky?
That was part of the, yeah, yes.
Okay. CUP 2023 007.
Yes, and CUP 2023.
Got it, there, it's it.
All right, last one.
I'm midnight.
Yeah, my supervisor was at GAP 1 last week and he was there until 11:05.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We're sitting through this. So I'm presenting on behalf of him, so I will try to answer questions to the best of my ability. If not, I believe the agent is online virtual and he'll be able to answer any questions on the case. So they're requesting an amendment to another CUP that is on Meridian and K96. So they're removing, the easiest way to describe this is on the second page of this report. That image there, yeah, and they're essentially doing a swap of land between two CUPs. So just to explain that more in depth, they are removing a 0.44 platted reserve to be incorporated into CUPDP 355. So it's going from 353 to 355. And then they're going to add 0.42 acres to Reserve A and adjust the internal parcel boundaries, including adding additional parcels within the CUP boundary to reflect the platting of the commercial second edition. So then if we talk about this from the 355 perspective, they want to remove the 0.42 acre portion of the platted reserve, add 0.44 acres to Reserve A, and adjust the internal parcel boundaries to reflect the platting of the Harbor Isle Commercial First Edition. So they're generally located on the east side of North Meridian within 1/4 mile north of K96. CUP DP 355, which is on the top half, is its own LC Limited Commercial District and GC General Commercial District. And CUP DP 353 is on the south in the zone GC General Commercial District. Just a little bit of background here. In 2020, CUP 2020/02 established CUP DP 353 to the south. And then CUP 2020/017 established CUP TP 355 to the north. So the reason that we're here today is because if you're adding or removing land from a CUP, the CUP is required to be amended, and that requires a public hearing. So, but if you look at the general provisions of both the CUPs, they've remained unchanged. So just a little bit of context here on like the zoning and land use. Property to the north is zoned SF5 and LC, and they are undeveloped. And then south is K96. East is school bus parking and training facility and ball fields. And west is zoned LC with another CUP, and it is undeveloped, and there's also a church there. The site has access to West 40th Street North, which is a paved two-way local street with no sidewalks. West Dockside Street and North Porter Avenue are platted local rights of way within the bound of the CUP, but they have yet to be paved. The CUP, the proposed CUPs are in partial conformance with the community investments plan. The 2035 Wichita Future Growth concept map indicates the site as appropriate for new residential. And that essentially means that it's predominantly residential with pockets of low intensity commercial development. Based upon the information available at the time the report was prepared, staff recommends that the amendment to CUP DP 353 be approved. And the amendment to CUP DP 355 also be approved. And this went to MAPC on March 9th. It was approved on consent. And we have not heard any comments from the public. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have one. And I'm not sure who you're directed to, so I'll add you.
Okay.
Did the Arbor Isle Homeowners Association have any discussion on this?
Not to my knowledge. Has it, Tom Joyce, have you had any discussion with the HOA on this?
No, none to my knowledge.
So they're not aware of this on posting?
That would be my assumption, yes. Other than what we send out as the.
I'll make a comment.
Sure.
Brad
You
Bachman.
go 100%.
Yeah, 4829 Port West, Brad Bachman. This was more or less a minor cleanup of a plat that we did. It's clear at the south end of the Harbor Isle Lake, so nobody's within 1,000 feet or more than that. And basically, this whole south end of the lake, we in 2020 zoned for commercial use. We'd like to get some restaurants and shops and things along that corridor there adjacent to the interstate. And the landowner on the south there needed a little chunk of land. We're going to put a sewer lift station in there, rather the city is. And so I traded him the exact acreage to allow this little better entryway that goes up and around the lake, so we'll be able to landscape it and basically control it. So this was something we would have done initially. It slipped by the planning and the planning process, but because there was a number of things going on, and it just like I say, this is a kind of a cleanup of the plans. So
Thanks.
Any other questions? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll move we approve the recommendation as provided as presented.
Second that.
All in favor?
Hi. Hi.
Any opposed?
Yeah, thank you so much. Sure. Anybody have any updates they want to share? Anything going on in your neighborhood?
Or Tuesday, sometimes about or nice. Our neighborhood association meeting.
Sorry. Riverside is having Carrie Richards as our guest.
So I wanted to share a quick update about the, there's been discussion about having the zoning letters be bilingual.
Yes.
And so we just have some ideas floating around. We still have to get them approved by the planning director. And I don't know if we have to get it approved by anyone else, but just having a sheet that says like, you know, this letter is in English. If you want it in Spanish, you can call our call center. In terms of the actual zoning being translated, I don't know if we have necessarily the resources for that, primarily because I'm the only bilingual person. And like, even though I grew up speaking Spanish, I don't know how to say like, this is a zone change request to vacate the platted utility easement. I'm like, I didn't know how to say that. So, I mean, if the general public has questions, you know, I'm happy to answer them, but that's just kind of the idea that's floating around right now.
That was awesome, really.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
That would be good stuff.
Yeah.
The only things I have to share is the Meridian Dog Park. We are still in conversations about making improvements over there. It is on forum if you want to go engage in that conversation. We're also having another meeting here on April the 5th. At 6 o'clock, so if you would like to come join us then, that's awesome. Also, the LEAP application in March 31st for energy and gas utility assistance. So if you have any questions of that, let me know, or on it, I'm happy to help.
I just have one, of course, every Saturday at Exploration Place at 8 o'clock in the morning, we do park run. It's a free time 5K, you can walk, run, saunter, bring your dog, bring your kids, whatever, totally low pressure. But this month, being Women's History Month, we are working with Girls on the Run to support that program. And so you can come and support that, you can donate to them. And we're also in a couple weeks going to do a river cleanup, and the city's coming and helping us out too. Just since we run on the river, we're just going to be good stewards of it and do that as well. So every Saturday, unless they close the Keeper Bridge because it's icy.
When is that river cleanup? Yeah.
A couple weeks, but I don't know, but I will let you know. Yeah.
Just make sure that we promote it.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of cleanup, yeah, I know Lee mentioned it, but that'll be before our next meeting, April 8th. Is Benjamin Hill, Pleasant Valley, and it's different this year.
Okay.
So Benjamin Hills is dumpster based. Pleasant Valley is trucks. So we changed our meeting times on Thursday to 6:30.
Okay.
We try to get done in an hour.
Okay.
We'll have an Easter egg hunt. Some basketball games on the Saturday for the Easter. And our cleanup, maybe the cleanup, I believe is still.
Okay. Awesome. We'll make sure that we promote those. Anything you let me know. So much to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Favor, Ian?
Maggie?